Hey UConn Nation, it's KK Arnold here. If you're looking for the latest UConn women's basketball content, go subscribe to Listen Up to Phil and Ryan. Go Huskies!
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Listen Up. It is me again here with you for a last check-in video against Providence. Again, thank you everybody for joining me. Thanks for everybody tuning into that last game recap video. I know that was a rough one for a lot of us, but hopefully we can turn the page here pretty quickly, as I know UConn is right now, as they have another matchup on Sunday against the Providence Friars. So UConn obviously looking to bounce back after another tough loss to a ranked team. The Huskies remain on the road and travel to Rhode Island to face Providence for the second time this season. First matchup was in December. UConn won that one 67-41. It was the game after USC that lost to USC, and that started this. The last Providence matchup started UConn's 11-game win streak. So that obviously came to an end Thursday night with the loss to Tennessee. But like I mentioned, UConn hopes to start a new one to end the season. It's hard to believe now, but we only have 7 remaining regular season games. So if you guys would like, comment, and subscribe, as always, me and Phil definitely appreciate it. Also working on getting this picture, this canvas, hung up behind me. So hopefully I can have that behind me pretty soon. Not going to spoil who the player is, but I'm sure you guys will enjoy looking at that behind my background. I've also been trying to play around with these lights, these new lights that I got. Hopefully, I think this looks pretty good behind me now. Let me know what you guys think, but I'm trying to make it look pretty good for you guys. But let's talk more about this matchup. UConn held the Friars to just 2 of 15 from 3 in the first matchup and just 32% shooting from the field. Now, Providence isn't really a team that scores a lot of points, but they are coming off a win against DePaul, in which they scored their second highest scoring total of the season. Grace Afosa scored 27 points, and Olivia Olson tacked on 18. They need to have one of those games, both of them, to lead Providence if they want any shot at beating UConn. They also need to capitalize on their 3-point attempts, and the same goes for our Huskies as well. We need an efficient 3-point shooting game to get their confidence level back up. I also think Ice Brady will remain out for this game. No official update, but in my opinion, she'll probably remain out since her shoulder injury is considered week to week. I was really surprised by that because I didn't receive any news. I didn't see that during this whole entire week until, like I mentioned on the game recap, it was about 30 minutes before the game where I saw that Ice Brady would be out, and she had that shoulder injury that was considered week to week now. So definitely something to monitor, but I'll make sure to provide you guys with an update when we do receive one on her injury. But the Huskies need to regain their momentum and stay focused to close out the year. It's obviously a big loss, to Tennessee. Definitely another disappointing loss to a ranked team. We'll get into comments in just a few seconds here. You guys really came through on the last video in the comments, and I definitely wanted to read a couple of those because a lot of you guys made a lot of good points. But, obviously another disappointing loss. Kind of the same story as last year. UConn really struggling against the ranked teams. And, it's on the road too, which is, it makes it a lot tougher. But, Gino always scheduling these games to try to get the girls ready for postseason basketball. That's what it's all about. Obviously, that's what it comes down to every single year is in March in the postseason. So, I don't know if this team's ready or not for postseason basketball. We blow out all these Big East teams, and it just seems like we can't, we can't make it all come together for these big matchups. And like me and Phil mentioned in that game recap, obviously we still have one really big game left when UConn goes to South Carolina in about a week here. So, hopefully we can use this game against Providence. They have another one against St. John's before that South Carolina matchup. So, it felt really good going into that Tennessee game. I mentioned the 11 game win streak that they had. I thought UConn had a ton of momentum going into that game, but just didn't end up mattering, unfortunately, in the end. But hopefully, we can use these two games to get back on track and have a good game against South Carolina. But obviously, I have two to play before that, and we'll go ahead and get into comments from the last video. We will start with the disruptive one. They said Paige stayed a year too long. Her game has been plateaued. She looks bored. She should probably be playing an unrivaled right now. I hope she plays better in the pros when she gets away from Gino. Yeah, it's interesting because I mentioned to Phil about having a potential episode on Paige or maybe the whole entire team about whether they're ready for March Madness or that kind of thing. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, we'll have that in this next upcoming week here in about a week or so. But I don't really disagree with that. I think Paige obviously has had a great career with UConn in all the years that she's been here. But she played so great during her freshman year, and a couple injuries that I think really affected her, just like so many players unfortunately on this team. But I think for Paige this season, it's definitely been a letdown. It's definitely been a letdown kind of year, in my opinion. I think, especially in these big games, she just hasn't really showed up how I know that she's wanted to. So, hopefully she can use that as motivation towards the end of the season here and going into postseason basketball. Next comment we'll go to from Beatles for Sale. They said they just don't have poise. They seem to be very nervous on the road against good teams. Missed so many easy baskets. 3-point shooting was very poor. They really need more road games against ranked teams. Aubrey Griffin was a really nice bright spot, as you mentioned. Yeah, I think UConn. I don't know. To me, they didn't really seem nervous right out of the gates. In my opinion, I think they did a pretty good job handling Tennessee's pressure at the beginning of the game. With the way Tennessee plays and how Coach Caldwell uses all those subs throughout the whole entire game, I think UConn did a good job of dealing with that. But I do think that, the crowd always tends to play a pretty large role in a lot of these games for any team. When UConn's home, they're very, very hard to beat at home, and just like a lot of these other teams are very difficult to beat at home too, because you have home court advantage with obviously a lot of fans there to back you up and cheer the team on. So obviously, like I said, we have a lot of these tough road games every single year. I do agree that they need more of them, but it would be nice as well to win a lot more of them to start winning a lot more of them. But yeah, I think Albert Griffin definitely was a positive, definitely a good sign to start to see her play more minutes, and glad to see that Gino, trusts her again, and she's healthy enough now to play significant minutes in these big time games moving forward. So I'm definitely looking forward to see Aubrey Griffin playing more in the postseason. Definitely so glad that she's back. She's really going to help this team moving forward. Next comment we'll go to from S. Cole. They said the lack of urgency is worrying. KK was a spark off the bench, but it feels like she's the main source of energy now. Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. I think the lack of urgency is a problem. And like I kind of mentioned in the game recap, I probably didn't explain it very well, but it seems like some of the small problems that we've noticed throughout the season and that we've kind of talked about, some of these problems that they're small, but they can be fixed. But it seems like in these big games, they're very more relevant, and they turn into really big problems. And I think one of those is the lack of urgency from the big time players on this team. So I do agree that the players like Paige, AZ, you know, they need to step up a little bit more in these games. They need to bring the energy. They need to bring the confidence that this team needs, and lead the team in those sorts of categories to start get them going. But KK, obviously the whole season long, always the Energizer Bunny, always jump starts the bench play. She's obviously so big for this team. Last comment we'll go to, and then I will give my prediction. Steven Pizzoli, they said they missed 14 layups, and neither Page or AZ showed up for this game or in any big game. They destroy the Big East, but can't beat anybody good. And how can you win when your big girl Jana scores 4 points and is outplayed in every game? Gino had her as the second coming of Tina Charles. Not going to happen. In simple words, this team stinks, and Paige is not the superstar everyone thinks she is. Really sad. Yeah, I know a lot of us are really disappointed that UConn lost that game. It's a tough loss, and I know a lot of you guys are frustrated in the comments, and rightfully so. The like we mentioned, the missed layups, the missed 3 pointers, layups, mid range shots, all of it combined, like I said, really came back to hurt UConn really badly, especially at the end of the game. It all added up, and that was a really huge reason. That was a really big part of why they ended up losing that game. And like I just mentioned, Paige, AZ, a couple other players need to start stepping up a little bit more in these big time games. And I think Jana, it's definitely been a disappointing season for her. I would definitely agree with that. I think she has a lot of stuff to work on in the off season. But I just wish she would use her size and length a little bit more to her advantage. I really think she can make a big difference on this team. Unfortunately, hasn't really done that a whole lot this year, but there's still time to turn it around before the season. Like I said, we have a couple regular season games left, and then the really serious basketball begins. But Jana definitely is able to have a big role on this team. Hopefully, she can turn it around for us. We'll get into my prediction now, and then I'll sign off. Yeah, I think this one's gonna be another easy win for UConn. Don't really expect Providence to be able to score a whole lot again in this game. So I'll say UConn 83, Providence 52 for the score prediction. But that will do it for me here on this game. Not game recap yet. Last check-in video. Game recap will be straight after the game on Sunday against Providence. And I will see you guys then. This has been Rye on Listen Up.